So today I'm going to be talking to you about your pelvic floor. So as a society, we've become really very dismissive about pelvic floor exercises. They're generally not really taken very seriously. Lots of women just sort of laugh, oh yes, forgot to do those, ha ha ha. We kind of have learned to accept almost, or been made to believe that anybody sort of over the age of 35, if they're going to cough or sneeze or anything like that, then they're going to leak. And it's wrong. It's wrong, and we should not accept this. So your pelvic floor, obviously, as you get older, it is going to lose tension and tone like any other muscle in your body. But this shouldn't be happening when we're in our 30s or 40s or 50s. This should be happening way, way in the future. We really shouldn't have these issues now. I think as well, a lot of people think if they've had a C-section as opposed to a vaginal delivery, that the pelvic floor hasn't been damaged as much and therefore they don't really need to do the exercises. And again, this is wrong, because although you haven't had a vaginal delivery, you've had a C-section, you've still carried that child, possibly twins even, for 9 months. That is still that amount of baby weight. Imagine if you've given birth to an average size baby, 7-8 pound baby, plus the extra body weight that you've put on. That's heavy, and that's been pushing downwards on your pelvic floor all that time. So you've stretched it out, even though you haven't delivered the child through that way. Obviously, there are other contributing factors towards a weak pelvic floor that have got nothing to do with pregnancy, but that's like a whole nother thing, which I will happily talk to you about if you want to get in touch, but don't have time to do it all in one video. I think you ought to know that roughly 1 in 3 women suffer with some form or some kind of pelvic floor dysfunction, whether that's relatively minor all the way up to fairly major, and that's a scarily high statistic, and one that I think we need to correct. I think part of the problem is that we're never actually taught how to do pelvic floor exercises. Who has ever sat down and shown you properly how to do pelvic floor exercises? Probably nobody. And I doubt that anybody has ever really kind of enforced how important these are for us as a woman. Not only just to stop these little leakage incidents that we sort of seem to think are common, but also it can have an effect on your shape. So the shape of your abdominals, the way that they sit, because even though you can't see your pelvic floor, it's still part of the abdominal tension muscles. So if there's looseness down there, it's going to be really, really difficult to support the abdominal muscles in other areas as well. You've got to have tension throughout. If one part of it is baggy, then of course it's all going to sag. So just really quickly, this is probably one of the easiest and most straightforward pelvic floor exercises to do, and this is how you do it properly. Sitting on a chair, I've got a dining room chair here, so it's nice and firm. Try to avoid anything that's soft and squashy. I'm quite short, so in order for my feet to be flat on the floor, you can see that I've actually had to sit quite a way forwards. That's obviously all to do with height. And you just want to sit comfortably on the chair. And then you want to literally, it's almost as if you're trying to pinch and then suck the vagina. Almost like if you had a handkerchief, you're sucking it up from the centre. It's also described as being quite similar to how you would feel if you were to stop your flow when you're going to the toilet. Although don't ever do that, because that's not good for you, but it's that feeling. The most common mistake when you're doing a pelvic floor exercise is to use your buttocks. So if you look at my bum, you can see that I'm sort of bouncing up and down a little bit on the chair. Now that means my buttocks are doing all the work, not my pelvic floor. Actually, what I'm doing while I'm speaking to you right now are pelvic floor exercises, and you can't tell, which means you can do them anywhere and at any time. You need to lift it up and aim to hold it before you can release. If you've got a slight weakness, you actually won't be able to release it. It will do that by itself. You want to aim to be able to hold it and release it at will. If you've got any questions about your pelvic floor, or you want any more details on it, it is quite a big subject, so do get in touch with me and I'd be more than happy to see if I can help you in any way. But outside of that, please do this exercise as often and as many times as you can, because it will have a huge impact, not just on your life now. So fine, you might not be leaking now, but you need to think about the future. And like any muscle in your body, it needs to be kept strong in order to work at its best. Thank you so much for listening.